Monosoff, #1 Amazon bestselling author and creator of the Author to Income Formula. Welcome to the show. I am so excited to introduce you to my special guest. It's Judith Joshel, and Judith is launching her book, and it's called Where Are the Good Guys? A Single Woman's Guide to Finding Men Offline. Finding Mr. Right Offline. Is that right, Judith?
That is right. That is right. And thank you, Tamara. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell us, Judith, actually, before we dive in, I'm going to just give a little bit about your background, and then we'll dive in because I'm so eager to ask you questions. But let me just talk a little bit about you because you have a really interesting background. First of all, you're an inspirational coach for women committed to finding and wowing and keeping Mr. Right. And you're the host of the Mr. Right Cafe, which is an online expert interview series designed to help women find and keep the love of their life. But what's really interesting, Judith, and I'm very curious about, is that you're a former divorce attorney and mediator who became weary of dealing with failed relationships. Judith wanted to help women recover from heartbreak and create loving and healthy relationships, so you became a certified professional life coach. What an interesting shift. So tell us what inspired you to make this shift and to write the book.
Yes, well, I was a lawyer and a mediator for many years, and I had a very thriving practice in Berkeley, California. And I was looking for my Mr. Right, and I had a lot of obstacles, a lot of things I had to work out in my own life, in my own head. And I did finally get together with my husband, the man I finally married. And when we got married, we decided to move to where he was living in Florida because he was raising his grandson, and we did not want to uproot the grandson. So I closed my practice and I moved to Florida, and I went crazy because I didn't like not working. So I was looking around. I tried a number of different things, and I finally became a life coach. And because I had worked so much with divorcing people, I first started helping women who were going through divorces. And then I realized, no, I don't want to deal with all that pain and heartache anymore. I want to help women find Mr. Right, and I know how to do it because I was single so many years, and I met guys in so many ways, and so that's what I did. And that's what I'm doing now. And it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And I never dreamed ever I would be doing this.
So tell us then about the book. You wanted to put some concrete strategies into place, right, to help women along. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, I work with so many women, and I talk with so many women. And their first complaint is, I can't meet any good guys. I can't find good guys I even want to date. And many of them are online, and they hate it. And even when they're meeting some guys online, they're not right, or they just very discouraged. And so I know from my own experience and from coaching many, many women how to meet guys in the real world. So I decided that I was going to research what had been written about this. And I went onto Amazon, and I bought every single book that possibly dealt with this subject, and I read every one of them. And none of them were very good at all. And I knew I could write a much better book. So that was the inspiration for writing the book.
So can you give us some of these hot strategies that you're offering women?
Right. Well, I can talk about general strategies. So there are broad strategies, and then there are narrower strategies. So a broad strategy would be to think about where men go and what they do. So, for example, a lot of men, not all men, my husband doesn't, but a lot of men love sports. and they love to watch sports, and many of them love to participate in various sports. So if you go to Friday night, Monday night football game in a sports bar, and you're friendly, you may meet some guys. And some of them may be single, and one of them could be a good one for you, or you may have nothing in common with any of them. So there's the kind of broad strategies. And then, another one would be most men love cars. So car shows, go to a car show. I know a couple women who have met their husbands at car shows. All right, so those are the broad strategies. So then narrower strategies would be more to focus on the kind of guy you would like to meet, and to do what I call think backwards to what he might be doing in his spare time, where he might be going, and you go there, and you're friendly, and you meet him. So, like an example, say you're an animal lover and you really would love to be with a guy who loves animals. So where might that guy be? Well, one possibility is he could be volunteering to train dogs for the blind and disabled. Or he might be working at a wildlife rescue center. So if those are your passions, volunteer, and you may meet him. And if he's not there, you'll meet other people, and some of the other people you meet there may be able to introduce you to him.
I love that. I love that. So put yourself where you think your Mr. Right would likely be. And one of the things you talk about, which I think is really a tip that you give, is, and I'd love for you to just speak to it, is talking about radically open curiosity. What do you mean by that?
Well, by that, I mean to get your eyes off of your phone and off of your iPad, and to actually be present in your life all the time, and to be aware of what's going on, be curious, including noticing the people around you, and being noticing, maybe there's a cute guy in line behind you at Starbucks, and I mean, you have no idea if he's single or he'd be interested. But if you actually are not looking at your phone and you notice him, you might just ask him if he's ever tried the caramel whatever latte, and see if he wants to talk. And if he's interested, he'll talk to you, and you may make a connection. So that's what I mean. Every part of your life, you're going about it in a way that you are radically open, and you're curious about everybody and everything that you're seeing.
And that ties into what your concept is about having your man radar on. Is that right?
Yes, right. Because, like for instance, I was working with a woman about a year ago, and she had come out of a really tough marriage, and she was ready to start dating, but she hadn't yet. And she was going to go online. We were going to get her profile together. And she was walking her dog in the neighborhood. And she noticed this cute guy and smiled, and he stopped, and they talked. Well, they are in a very serious relationship now. They are so happy, and she never went online because she never needed to.
That is such a good point. It's funny. I got a puppy recently, and I thought, my goodness, I have met more people. I'm not looking for Mr. Right. I got my Mr. Right, but it is so true when you're just out and open. And I think your point about not having your face buried in your phone is like when you're looking at your phone, you're like missing all of the opportunities that are surrounding you and could be right here, right in front of you.
Yes, and I just want to tell you a really funny story. I have a young client. She's about 26, and she's gorgeous, and she meets a lot of guys online, and they have been really very disappointing, and she gets very discouraged. So I told her, I really want you to start meeting guys in the real world. And there's this silence. And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, actually, and she's actually in grad school, and there are a lot of guys around her, and she has a job where there are guys. And I said, I want you to start noticing the guys around you, and I want you to start thinking about some activities you could do where a lot of young guys may go, like biking or hiking, or music kinds of venues and so on. And so she's going to be doing that.
I love that. I love that. And so tell us a little bit about, the online dating apps and how you feel about them.
Well, I think online dating is fine. And it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. The problem with online dating is you have to know what you're doing. First of all, you have to have a really good profile, and what you think is a good profile may not be a good profile to attract the particular kind of guys you want. And you have to know how to handle it. You have to sort out a lot of scammers, people who you would never be interested in. And you have to also, know how to bring it from the app and from the online site into like some communications, and then maybe a phone call, and then meeting for a cup of coffee. You have to know how to move it quickly, so that you're not wasting so much time and energy and getting focused on a guy you haven't even met yet. Because there are a lot of people who go online and they just have these, I call the guys monitor mouses. They just want kind of a pretend relationship with somebody. They can tell themselves, oh, I'm communicating with this woman and she's great, but they haven't met her and they're not in a relationship with her. And guys like this can waste a lot of time. So if you know what you're doing, you can definitely meet wonderful guys online. But I think even if you also should be looking in your life and in the real world.
That's great advice, Judith. And you may have spoken to this, but you do talk about having 5 very specific and effective ways for women to meet good single men offline. So do you want to, even if you've touched on some of them, if you could just recap what those 5 things are, that'd be great.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I have. So,
oh, good.
All right. So let's see. So the first one is men in your daily life. And there may be men in your daily life that you are not noticing or have never even thought of in terms of a romantic possibility. Then there are men you already know. I mean, I married a guy I'd known for like 30 years, and he had been married to a friend of mine, and she had died. So, if you go and you think about all the men that you have known in your life and where they are now, and now with social media you can find people that you never could find before. So that is something to really consider. Number 3, networking. Networking is fabulous. It works in the business world, and it works just as well, if not better, in your personal life. So think of all the people in your life who might know somebody for you, and figure out which ones of them you might feel comfortable asking if they know anybody. And then maybe every week you take 2 or 3 of those, and you make personal contact with them and you ask. And so that's number 3. Number 4, meetups.
Oh.
Yeah. Meetups are great. There are meetups for everything in the world you could possibly think of. And so you want to look for meetups that would particularly attract guys. And, there are many, there are sports meetups where, people get together to play different sports. There's intramural baseball and volleyball meetups there. It depends on where you live, you know. But if you're in any kind of an urban area and you go onto the meetup side, you will have such a choice. I mean, there are singles meetups, and you can definitely try them. But there are so many other kinds of meetups. I know a woman who met her beloved in a film meetup group. And I know her for a number of years, and she was having real difficulty. She's a great woman, and she was having real difficulty finding a good guy, and she found one in a film meetup. Okay, and then the fifth is just social activities at, like, parties. Don't reject party invitations, and just events like weddings are great places to meet people, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, any kind of life gatherings.
I love that too. And what you had said earlier is just ask. I mean, if you're at one of these events and your friend can introduce you to the cute guy on the other side of the room, why not just ask, right?
Right, but that's so easy for you and me to say, but so many women are so shy and embarrassed to do that. So what I suggest is that you just write out a script and you practice it, and you practice it maybe with a friend, and then you try it, and yeah, it's going to be scary at first, but do it, and you might be surprised.
Can you give an example just really quick of just a couple sentences in a script like that?
Oh, well, you could just say something like, I've been divorced now for a while, and, I've been feeling like I've done a lot of healing, and I really would love to meet a great guy. And, if you know anybody you think might be right for me, would you introduce us? Just simple.
Yeah, I love it. That's wonderful, Judith. Okay, so, and what do you do when women are feeling discouraged and frustrated over the process? I happen to know a couple of single women who are just they're so done.
Yeah.
They're just like, it's been just too long, too frustrating. They've tried the apps and it's just led to so much disappointment and heartache. And so what do you say to women who are in that place?
Well, I say, first of all, that if this is something you really want, don't give up. Maybe take a break. It's always good to take a break when you get really discouraged and overwhelmed. And, make a new plan, because what you've been doing hasn't been working. So you need to have a new plan as to how you're going to meet guys, and you may very well get some very good ideas from my book. But also, another thing that would be very helpful to do is to take stock of what patterns have been showing up in your relationships with guys and your dating, because my book is it isn't the only solution. There are also often deeper things that are going on. So if you have a pattern, say, of choosing men who are unavailable, getting, or men who cheat, or men who turn out to be to have an alcohol problem, if you're having trouble being authentic, your authentic self on dates, if you have beliefs that there are no available men, or all the men out there are jerks, or if you have a belief that I'm not truly worthy of love, things like this are going to be sabotaging you from a deep level. And I would encourage you to take stock. And if something like this is going on for you that you can understand, you can see, get some help. Go to an expert coach or a therapist and really work it out, because you can meet the best guy in the world. And if you've got some of these issues, you're going to sabotage yourself.
Mm. I love that. Thank you so much, Judith. Judith, do you have the book in front of you? Can you show everyone your book? Yay!
It's right here.
Hold it up, hold it up. Where are the good guys? Don't you love it? That's got the Single Woman's Guide to Meeting Mr. Right Offline. Judith, thank you so much for your wonderful advice. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just keep going. Don't give up if this is what you want. You can do it. I have worked with women who have become, their mothers have been severely mentally ill. I've worked with women who have been molested as children, who have had abusive parents, alcoholic, drug-using parents, and we have worked through all that, and they have found love. And you can too, if that's really what you want.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Judith, for sharing with us about your wonderful book, Where Are the Good Guys? And I'm so excited. I can't wait to get my copy. And so thank you so much for your time today, Judith, and for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining us today, and that's the conclusion of this week's show. And I'm going to share my screen with you for just a second to show you that you can grab Judith's book on Amazon, Where Are the Good Guys? A Single Woman's Guide to Meeting Mr. Right Offline for Women of All Ages. I love it. It's raining all different kinds of men. So if this speaks to you, grab a copy or tell your friends. And I'll see you in the next show. I'm Tamara Monosoff, and signing off for now.